And welcome to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. My guest this afternoon is Don Rankin from the Friends of Hammonasset Festival. Don, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing well, sir. Thank you very much.
Oh, great. Thanks for coming down.
You're welcome.
So tell us, who is Don Rankin and what role does he play with the Hammonasset Festival?
Well, Pete, I'm a retired physician, surgeon, actually trained at Yale, surgeon in the Air Force during the Vietnam era thing.
All right.
Safely stationed in California, but retired a few years ago. And then began to look for things that I thought would be fun to do and be interesting for me and actually give me a chance to pursue some interests that I've had for a long time. So I linked up with the Friends of Hammonasset initially to help out with fundraising, to winterize the old Nature Center. We've since raised money for the new Nature Center. Got involved with the Friends of Hammonasset. Didn't even know that volunteer organization existed, but it's a wonderful bunch of folks. So that's how I got involved. And then after a few years, we talked about perhaps honoring the Hammonassets, the Native American tribe that lived peacefully in the area for whom the park is named, Hammonasset Beach State Park.
All right.
So that's how the idea of the festival came up. And Dale Carson, who is Abenaki, people of the East, people of the rising sun. Dale and I coordinated the first Hammonasset Festival, which was held in the year 2005. Okay. So.
And obviously the festival is going to happen again this year. And when is the festival?
The festival we hold, the Hammonasset Festival, we hold every other year. We have a festival every year, but the Hammonasset one that features Native American themes is held every other year. So this year it's going to be October 1st and 2nd from 10 to 5, I believe. And Pete, we've had to move it from the Hammonasset Beach State Park to the Guilford Fairgrounds. So it'll be at the Guilford Fairgrounds, which will be a nice landscape for us to hold this event. You might want to know why we're moving it off the park.
Yes, please.
And that has to do with park projects that may involve construction and digging up the roads and so on and so forth to put in conduits. So the state of Connecticut decided not to issue special use permits for the use of the park for large events. So we had to move it to the Guilford Fairgrounds, and we feel good about that. We have a lot of parking out there, so we don't have to get involved with busing and so on. And there'll be a lot of people in Guilford that will have a chance to attend this event, which can draw thousands of folks. It's a very popular event. But Pete, as all these outdoor events require, nice weather is certainly a big boost for us.
Exactly. And what are some of the other, you said the Hammonasset Festival is every other year. What are during the off years, what do you guys do?
Okay, during the off years, let's back up and talk about the Friends Hammonasset, because our function really, the primary function of the Friends Hammonasset is provide environmental education. So I mentioned the Meigs Point Nature Center, which is sort of our public face, but we also do programs at the park. We do a lot of educational programs sort of off campus, if you will, in the communities. And so the off-year events usually have something to do with the environment or nature and so on, whereas the Native American event, we bring in top-notch Native American performers, drummers and dancers and so on.
So what, like you said, what are some of the programs that you guys offer for the Friends of Hammonasset?
Okay, you mean for the festival now? Or?
No, just for during the off years. With the Nature Center.
Okay, we have a program. We partner, Pete, with a lot of other organizations. The birding bunch, a place called Hope. That's Todd and Christine. Second, we do a lot of programs with them. We have a program coming up in a couple of weeks. On the Madison Green, so people will learn about live birds. There'll be a live bird show. We'll have archaeology exhibits there, geology exhibits, that kind of thing. A lot of nature sort of programs for kids. And there are some of us within the context of Friends of Hammonasset that do programs all over the state. Gary Knopf, maybe we can get him on your show. Gary and I do a Connecticut Archaeology Roadshow where we inform people about what archaeology is and what people can learn from it and why it's important and so on. We participate in a lot of fairs that invite us to join them. The Hammonasset, besides the Hammonasset Festival, there's a Bower Festival in the town of Madison that's held in the middle of October, and we usually participate in that. We'll bring out the trailer from the Makes Point Nature Center, and we'll bring out the frogs and snakes and turtles and so on. And then in association with that, we have the spear throwing with the atlatl. Again, we can get Gary on your show. He's a world competitive spear thrower. He was on the David Letterman show before he went off the air. And it's a way to introduce kids in a fun way to Native American culture. The spear throwing that was used is the main hunting device until the bow and arrow was brought into Connecticut about 1,500 years ago or so. Okay.
Now, as far as you said you're involved with the geological.
Well, my background is physics, actually.
Okay.
So, and geology as well. Now, we're going back a long way.
That's okay.
But like I said, it's an opportunity for me to, pursue non-medical, fields of interest that I've always been fascinated by. Connecticut geology is important to understand because of how our landscape was shaped, how it was used by Native Americans. I work in conjunction with the State Office of Archaeology. I work in another Friends group, Pete, called the Friends of the Office of State Archaeology. There are about 300 of us, and about 60 or 70 participate in the digs. My interests are Native American sites. So, but archaeology can be historic or it can be prehistoric. Prehistoric generally means things that are relevant to Native American culture. Historic requires that we go back at least 50 years and going back in time to the contact period of the English with the Native American tribes that lived in the eastern part of our country.
Now, as far as you said there's different tribes.
Yes.
Can we talk about that?
Sure. The Hammonassets, we'll focus on them. They live from the East River, which was the boundary between Guilford and Madison, all the way perhaps down to the Connecticut River. The Niantics were down there, but the Hammonassets we think numbered about 125 at the time of the contact with the English, and we know that they lived in the Hammonasset area. The Hammonasset District actually is an area that's actually part of Madison. It incorporates the whole landscape of Hammonasset Beach State Park and some of the landscapes just in that area. So there's actually a Hammonasset District for the town of Madison.
Really?
In Guilford, the Guilford Native Americans were called the Monongatucks.
Okay.
And they were a band of Native Americans. They were part of the Quinnipiacs. The Quinnipiacs were the Native Americans, Pete, that lived in the New Haven area.
Okay, yeah.
And New Haven was settled by John Davenport in 1638. And the Native Americans, the Quinnipiacs, we think they numbered about 250, were moved to East Haven. In fact, there's a stone monument about the Quinnipiacs that's on Townsend Avenue that was funded by the Townsend family, I believe. But also, getting back to the Hammonassets, we created a boulder monument to honor and acknowledge the Hammonasset tribe, and that was we picked out a boulder. Nick Bellantoni, our state archaeologist, and a few of us picked out this nice boulder, and we created a plaque for it, and that's a sort of a feature where we have the musical events, if we can hold them in the park. It's out by Pavilion 4 at Hammonasset Beach State Park, so people aren't going to see it today. But there's only two boulder monuments that commemorate Native American tribes, to my knowledge, in the state of Connecticut. And that's sort of a sad thing, because we want to honor the people that lived here, Pete, for over 10,000 years.
Right.
So.
What do you think some other ways of honoring the people that lived over 10,000 years?
The best
could
way
be?
to honor them is for people to learn about the culture.
Okay.
I think we're filming this here in the middle of July, in the aftermath of horrendous things, Pete, that have happened in this country. Absolutely horrendous things. And I come from a family with actually triracial ties. I have cousins that have tribal status with the Cherokee Nation, and I have black cousins. We're all Rankins. Most of my DNA is Irish, pure troublemaker.
That's okay.
My wife, I married my wife. She's Italian, so it's a good combination. Irish and Italian. We like that combination.
There you go.
You know, I got the stubbornness. She's got the brains and the beauty. That's probably your heritage. But learning about Native American culture, we need to incorporate some of those ideas. And you know, if I may, in Native American culture, people saw themselves as connected to nature, not for nature just to supply stuff that people could just use and abuse and without any consequences. Everything is connected in nature, and with that, there comes a need to respect it all. So there's sort of a giving up of the self in a way, self-importance, and being more grounded and being more connected. I think culturally too, Native Americans would see that women need to be not just respected but honored. So in Native American culture, women could hold positions of authority. In fact, the leader of the Monongahtucks was a woman named Shampusha. She was the leader, and she was the one that negotiated the sale of that land to Henry Whitfield in 1639. So women were held in high regard. Elders, but you got a ways to go. But you know, if you're over 50 or so, just being an elder brought with it, you know, a sense of here's a person with experience, and let's honor that. So elders were honored, children were honored. So Native Americans that would see young English children being physically punished, that was a no-no to Native Americans. So there are things that we can learn from Native American culture, and that's the whole point of archaeology, is to go back and look at an early culture and try to extract some ideas that maybe we can use in today's world. And instead of the self-righteousness about making ourselves right and people wrong because of the color of the skin and whatnot, it's just working together as a family. And I was very fortunate, Pete, to grow up in a family where that was the case. You know, so knowing I had black cousins and so on, my dad was very firm about our not just racial tolerance was a derogatory word. We want to celebrate our family. We want to celebrate cultural diversity. And I think we need to do that in this country as well.
Exactly, especially like you said, there's a lot of things going on in this country as well as overseas.
Yep.
Definitely. Definitely. So before we go, we're about to take a quick break, but before we go into the break, when is the Hammonasset Festival again?
Okay, it's October 1st and 2nd. It's a Saturday and a Sunday. Okay. And it's 10 to 5.
All right.
And after the break, I guess we can talk about some of the participants, because we've got some great Native American featured performers that have been very well received.
All right.
Okay.
We can do that.
Okay.
Would you mind sticking around?
I will stick around.
All right.
It'll be an honor.
We'll be right back after a break.
Every day, the people in our community rally in support of United Way as we strive together to make a big impact to change lives in Middlesex County. From our main streets to our institutions, from our neighborhoods to our town halls and our classrooms, we're working with our partners to create a stronger community. It's an inspiring effort, and we invite you to join us. Volunteer, donate, live united.
Looking for Connecticut's best ride? You'll find it at the Closer to Free Ride. On September 10th, ride an inspiring 10, 25, 62.5, or 100 miles. Every dollar you raise supports research and care at Smilow Cancer Hospital at Yale, New Haven. This is your ride. Register today at rideclosertofree.org and help bring our world closer to free.
And welcome back to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. Sitting here with Don Rankin from the Friends of Hammonasset Festival. Don, welcome back.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So, obviously, there's going to be a festival going on in October, and I believe it's October 1st and 2nd.
Yes.
And it is at the Guilford Fairgrounds this year.
Yes.
And what types of programs and performers can people see when they come out?
Okay. Well, featured will be Arvil Bird. Now, Arvil is a Native American performer, mixed heritage. His mother was Paiute from California. His father, I think, was Scottish. So he plays a mixture of Native American and Celtic music. It's a fusion type of music. So he plays the fiddle. He's classically trained, and he creates his own music. A wonderful performer, has been very well received. We've had him in the past. He travels all over the country. His wife is Kimberly Kelly, and she sometimes performs with him. So he plays a number of flute themes and fiddle kinds of music. Okay. People can actually Google him and see him on YouTube. Arvil Bird, B-I-R-D, Arvil, A-R-V-E-L.
Really?
And so he'll be performing 3 times, beginning, I think, probably at noon each day. And then we have Native Nations Drumming and Dancing. That's Erin Meach's group. She organizes a troupe of about 12, 13 or so of Native Americans. They come out in regalia. They have their own drumming group. So I'll be the MC of that part. So she'll take the mic and she'll explain some of the dances that these performers will be doing, and they're excellent. And that is a big draw. As soon as people hear that drumming beat, you know, they wake up and they gravitate to the performance area, which will be, it looks like it'll be more or less right in the middle of the Guilford Fairgrounds. So it will be very easy for people to gravitate to. So those are big events. Now, Alan Saunders, Alan is a resident of Clinton. Alan is a good friend of mine. He's a member of the Mohegan tribe. Alan frequently does an opening Native American blessing ceremony and smudging ceremony. So Alan will likely be with us again. Those events take place at 10:30 each day. So people would be invited and can actually participate in the smudging ceremony, which is a Native American cleansing ceremony.
I was going to say, what is a smudging ceremony? Can you explain to us exactly what it is? Because I've never heard of it.
Okay. A smudging ceremony is more of a Midwest and Western tradition. You take an abalone shell and you burn different kinds of herbs and sages and stuff like that depending upon what you're trying to do. But basically it's a cleansing ceremony where somebody will take a group of eagle feathers and sort of waft the smoke into a recipient, and you take the smoke and, you know, see no evil and hear no evil, speak no evil, carrying your troubles and your anxieties and so on up in the smoke goes to the Creator, and it's a cleansing ceremony. And so areas can be smudged. So you smudge an area to create the proper spirit, a one of acceptance and love and connectedness. And when my son was married out in Seattle, we had a smudging ceremony, and the minister did a good job of explaining what that process was. So that's each morning at 10:30. If, you know, pretty soon, if people go to the website, then they'll be able to see the events. Probably by early September, the events will be posted on the website, Friends Hammonasset website, so people can actually see what the programs are. Sure. So we have those events taking place that people will want to see, but we also bring in probably 25 or 30 Native American vendors. These are people that may be artisans of a different variety. Some are crafters, some are artists. And so they'll be spread out, so people sometimes will save off doing some of their Christmas shopping and purchase gifts for their kids and so on and their friends at this particular event. So so that's a popular feature. We'll have a number of food vendors. Some will have Native American cuisine,
Okay.
but we'll probably have some others that will offer traditional food as well.
Okay. Speaking of food, what are some of the Native American cuisine?
Well, clam cakes comes to mind, you
Okay.
know. So clam cakes and corn dogs, I guess. Different. I'm not really
No.
an expert on that
it's
kind
okay.
of stuff, but clam cakes is what I'm thinking about, because there's one gal that makes those, and that really becomes popular. And now, you know, but I can say Native Americans, Pete, you know, they lived off the land, so they would make Jerusalem artichokes. You could find those even today at Hammonasset Beach State Park. Cattail roots, they would use those as a source of food. So there are Native American food sources that exist today, wild rice,
Yep.
so on, that people can harvest. But the Native American food vendors do a good job, and they're charged something, but we tell them to keep the prices low, so people are treated fairly. It's not going into. It's not like going to New York City and being charged $5 for a can of Coke or something like it. It doesn't happen.
So
and you know, we're talking about money. I mean, the admission charge is only $5.
That was actually.
People want to know that, and it's probably the best $5 event you can come across. I think children 12 and under are free, something like that.
That was actually going to be my next question.
Something like that.
Something like that.
But it's well worth it. The parking there. Most of your viewing audience, if it's going to be shown here, will be familiar with the Guilford Fairgrounds. They've probably been to the Guilford Fair, and so. The parking is free, so there's parking right on site there. And so for people that are handicapped, we'll have handicap spots designated so people can just drive in and you know, spend a few hours and have a great time. And in addition, we'll obviously have the exhibits from the Nature Center. Now we have a brand new Nature Center.
That's right.
And Russ Miller has been sort of like the acting director of the facility. The state of Connecticut, as you know, has some financial challenges. So what's going to happen with that new Nature Center in terms of hours and how it's going to be kept open and so on? Some of those issues, Pete, right now are sort of up in the air. But I will tell you that it's been very, very well received. And people have supported that new Nature Center. The Friends of Hammonasset, we put in $450,000 into that facility with the exhibits and so on, and the state, through bonding issues, provided, I think, $3.5 million. So it's heated with geothermal, and electricity is supplied through solar panels and so on. So it's an educational facility about living comfortably and you know, not using you know, fossil fuels and so on that add to CO2 in our environment. So it's a very environmentally friendly facility, very well received by the general public.
Excellent.
You know, it's wonderful. So
now we just talked about the Nature Center briefly. Let's stay with it for a minute or so. For those my viewers and listeners that don't know exactly what happened to the old Nature Center, I guess it got a totally new look and new.
The old Nature Center is still there. The old Nature Center was a small cottage that was used by one of the park rangers or managers. It was turned into a Nature Center, Pete, I would say in 1973, 74 about. And the Friends of Hammonasset have been supporting that Nature Center, bringing in exhibits. We winterized it. We put a new heat. Thermopane windows, we added handicapped accessible bathroom. We probably put about $60,000 into it. And then the conversation began about building a new one that would have a lot more capacity, because the old one was very overcrowded. And we found some legislators, Ed Meyer in particular, who was instrumental in creating a bonding issue for it. So that all happened. And then we had the grand opening at the end of May. It was actually before Memorial Day. Governor Malloy was there. Ted Kennedy spoke and so on. And so it was a wonderful event. And the public has really supported it by attending it. It's free. There's free admission to it. And there's touch tanks. There are all kinds of interactive touchscreen exhibits, educational things. and historic stuff. There's a whole thing on archaeology as well. There's an exhibit on archaeology, and some of the educational things will change as time goes on.
Right. And now we mentioned the budget. The state's in dire straits, and with the budget, what could the effect or the aspect on the Nature Center be because of the budget?
Well, the worst case scenario would be that they would close it, perhaps even seasonally. We don't want that to happen.
No.
So the Friends of Hammonasset, I think right now, is in negotiations with the leadership of the DEEP,
right,
and maybe using volunteers to keep it open, so it's not going to cost the state much. But to close it, what do you do, Pete, with all the creatures that are in it?
Right, exactly.
And then if you're going to open it in the spring, how does that work? So there are logistical challenges that need to be addressed if the state follows through and decides to close it seasonally. But it's such a wonderful facility that our intent was that it would be open all year round, because it's such a wonderful facility, and it's a chance for people to see all these wonderful exhibits and experience the touch tank and all these educational things at no cost.
Very nice, very nice. And before we wrap it up for tonight, let's go back to one of the original reasons that we're here, the Hammonasset Festival. When, where, and what time?
All right, so October 1st and 2nd, 10 to 5.
Okay.
The Guilford Fairgrounds will feature Arvold Bird, Native American flute guy, and then the Native Nations Drumming and Dancing Group. They're outstanding. The programs will start in the morning at 10:30 with the smudging ceremony. We talked about that.
Right.
Alan Saunders, he's Mohegan, good friend of mine, wonderful guy, good spiritual person. And then Native American crafters, Native American food vendors, and people are going to just have a great time. I'll be the MC.
All right.
And I have a good time.
All right.
So it's a lot of fun for me.
It sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. So Don Rankin from the Friends of Hammonasset Festival, I want to thank you for coming down. Hopefully we'll see you again soon.
I hope so, Pete, and thank you for having me on the program.
Not a problem. On behalf of Don Rankin, I'm Pete Mezzetti. Thanks, good night, and we'll see you next week.